Hi everyone, we're back here today with the Spider-Man boot. So what you're going to need for this build is some lycra fabric. You can use some red or any stretchy elasticated lycra. So lycra fabric is 4-way stretch, that is the best kind to use. And what you'll do is just place this flat out on any flat surface. I would say use an open space, guys, because you will be moving about. You will need a sock. So a sock that fits you good, any type will do, just as long as it fits you recently. Okay, and you'll need this for the size. What we're going to do is place it down on top of your lycra and cut a slightly bigger shape. So if you've watched my previous video on the boots, you will know I say this shape is just a glorified sock. So I'm just going to get my scissors and I will start to cut around the shape. Before I do so, I will want to mark off where I want the sock to end. Okay, so where your boot will go up to your thigh or your kneecap, it is completely up to you. You mark off with a pen and I just cut that off. So this boot is going to go around up my knees and you will see that later on in the video. I just cut the top and bottom off here and then slightly cut a bigger shape than this sock. This can be used for a Nightwing, Green Arrow, Godspeed, Flash or Kid Flash. All you would need is the coloured lycra fabric, and I will say again, guys, you can use some cheap shoes. Okay, so any cheap shoes or a pair of flip-flops will do. Slightly just cut around the shape though, and the sock will take perfect shape. So right down here for your thigh, you will want to leave yourself some room that when this boot does go on, you will kind of be sewing the edges or gluing the edges. You can use a needle and thread, I will say so later on in the video, but you will have your general shape that is a sock. As I say, it is just a glorified sock, slightly bigger, and my foot will fit inside this, okay? I'm going to be using an old pair of shoes like you see right now, and this is going to be the bottom base for the shoe. Now, as for the other side, you will need a double layer of the boot. So just cut the exact same shape that you have already cut like so, lay it flat down on top of your lycra fabric, and this will give you your boot layers. So you're just going to sew both of these layers together with either a sewing machine or a needle and thread. It is completely up to you, but as I say again, just lay the template shape that you have already cut on top of some lycra fabric, and then you're just going to cut the exact same shape so that you have your two sides for the boot cover. Thank you guys, and here you are with the video. For this portion, guys, I sew both of my sides together. So the lycra fabric is getting sewn together using an industrial grade sewing machine. You can use, as I say, a needle and thread or a smaller sewing machine. Those are around $80 to $100. They come in very handy. I will say you can glue both of these shapes together, but it will break over time. Sewing is the best method that I can give, and I just sew around the edges like I would use a glue gun. Just go around the edges and I secure this at least 3 times. I take my time and I show you in steps. I've got a lot of questions of people asking me, how do you stick it together, how do you sew it together? And the reason I have an industrial grade sewing machine is because my mother does this professionally. Okay, so I just sew the boot round, and the industrial grade sewing machine is very handy, but I will say you can use a needle and thread. Sorry for the repetition, guys. Just want to try and help the best I can with this. It is very, very useful. If you have these sewing techniques, you can go and look them up on YouTube. There is a lot of videos out there to help you. Again, this is the best way to get your costumes and props to stick together. Thanks for watching. Here we are with the boot cover. So, hi everyone, yes, I'm wearing like a hat today. It is pretty cold in Ireland, it is about winter time. So you just see me sew my boot and cut it. So I cut both sides from the lycra fabric, like I just says. It is a glorified sock, basically. and you cut your top to any length that you want. Again, this is made from the red 4-way stretch Lycra fabric. Now, I just sewn this at least 3 to 4 times. You can see the sew lines all the way around the actual boot itself. I used an industrial grade sewing machine. You can use any sewing machine you want or a needle and thread. It will take you some time, though it is worth it in the end. So this boot now is pretty structured and tight. Let's turn it inside out. So once you turn it inside out, you will have nice clean seam lines going all the way down. Okay, so you can't see any stitching whatsoever going down the boot itself. They have nice clean seam lines all the way around. And what I'm going to do now is put the shoe itself inside, and then I can actually see what I'm working with. So you'll want to use an old shoe. I'm using some old Converse, some navy Converse that I kind of, were painting in, and these things are wrecked. I would prefer to use something with a hard rubber front, like a toe right here, because this will actually help the boot and the shoe stay in shape itself when you put it inside the Lycra. If you use something like a fabric toe or a fabric top of a shoe, it when the Lycra gets inside, it will crush it in and crinkle it in, and it is pretty hard to get your foot inside the boot. So I would probably suggest using a rubber toe or a tip toe boot or a shoe to put inside your Lycra Spider-Man boot. So I'll just slip this inside right now, and we'll actually sit down for this. Guys, again, you can use any old shoes. I would suggest not using new ones, or you can go to any discount store, pick up some old shoes or some cheap $2 to $3 pair of shoes. Enough of shoes, let's get into it. And yeah, I actually really like these once in a while. So enough from him, guys. You'll just lay your boot cover flat on the floor, and I just start to cut off the excess threads from the sewing machine itself, and then I turn it inside out. Now the boot is going to go inside, but before we do this, we unlace the shoe, so take the laces out of it, and I am going to cut the tongue and the sides off of the shoe itself. This will help my foot get better access into it once it is inside the cover, and also it won't restrict my movement while it is inside the boot cover. Alright, so I'll just cut off the sides here where the laces did go, and I cut off the tongue area like so, and there we have a nice formed fit boot cover, or the shoe base as you like to call it, any which way you want. I have a nicely formed fit boot cover, and you'll want to keep that back heel and also maybe some side pieces so that you will have a nice base layer. These are all the things you'll need, and also a glue gun next for the next step, and then a staple gun. I will explain more in the next stage. Thank you guys for watching. So hi guys, just before we put the shoe inside the boot itself, or inside the boot cover, shall we say, I chose to get a fluffy inside. This is going to be really good for walking around in cons and just generally walking around in the boots themselves. There's actually a fluffy, I don't know what it is, just a fluff on the inside, so it's cushioned. Maybe that's a suggestion for when you choose to make your boots. We cut off our edges right here and also the tongue part of the shoe, so that when we do put our foot inside the boot itself, that nothing is going to be restricting our foot from getting inside the shoe. Alright, so if you want to cut off the sides here where the lace is lined up, if you want to cut off your tongue portion, I would suggest doing that. Again, a hard tip toe shoe will always be best, because this is kind of fabric and it may crush in on the weight of it. So yeah guys, thanks for watching, and here we are going to put the boot inside the cover. Put the boot! Also, I'm using a staple gun, so yeah, if you can find a staple gun, or if you are underage, get someone of supervision who has a staple gun. This is vital in securing the shoes or the boots. You can also hot glue them, or use a normal stapler. That would also work, maybe tiny pins in the bottom, but watch the thickness of the pins. This is a very good way to do it. I will be showing you. You just go around the outer rim of the shoe itself. We will get to that, but this staple gun is pretty handy doing this. Here we go. So you'll lay your boot cover flat on the floor and just start to put the shoe inside the boot cover itself. Now you'll want to push this right down to the bottom and around the back toe area. Make sure everything is laid flat and stretched out, and you actually will get a nice base for the boot itself. You can already see it's taking a nice shape also, but here things start to slow down. I'm going to tell you some details, guys, that can help your boot's overall shape. So you can see at the front here that I have some sort of bump here from the Lycra. That is actually from the sewing line and the seam itself. This gives me a shitty bump here at the front, and we are about to take that away right now. What I'll need to do is just take the boot out from the cover, or the shoe out of the cover itself, and just start to cut off some of the excess fabric. Now, because I have sewn this 3 times with the sewing machine, you've already seen that it is nice and secure, so that I have a good amount of room to cut off. Okay, so your excess fabric is the amount of fabric at the sides that you will not be using. You'll see here once I turn it inside out, I have a good amount, and I can cut off anything that I want. You'll always want to be remembering, guys, give yourself enough space when you are cutting your pieces, but once they are sewn together or glued together, you can cut off some excess fabric at certain points where it does restrict or give out some bumps. Okay, so thank you so much, and I'm going to just start to get inside these depths here. So I just cut off the tips here of the top of the boot cover where the excess fabric met up. Again, I will say I've sewn this 3 times, so this thing is pretty secure. I can cut off a good amount, cut off that bump here at the front, and once I put the shoe back into the cover itself, I will have a nice flat surface. Here we are, guys. Thanks for watching so far. So as you can see right now, guys, there is no more bumps left on the shoe itself. That is because we did take away that excess fabric, and now the shoe flows and looks much better. That curve at the front looks a lot better, and this portion now is on sticking the boot cover to the actual shoe itself. Okay, so we have a nice boot base, and what you're going to do is take your staple gun and staple all around the edges. But before we do this, I'm going to take the shoe out of the boot cover itself, and I'll show you where we will be stapling, because we do not want any open staples in the open space of the shoe. So you can see around here the white rims of the rubber around the actual shoe. This is the protector and the also rubber base around the shoe, and where it is most dense and thickest. So this rubber portion is where it is actually most thick around the shoe, and this is where we will be stapling into, because it doesn't show up inside the actual open space of where your foot goes. Okay, so you'll not want to be stapling or putting any tacks around the shoe edges that will be going up inside your foot. That is pretty dumb. We will want to be just stapling in the really dense and thick rubber portions of the shoe. Now, if you do not want to use a staple gun, you can wait for another minute or two and see what I do with the hot glue gun. This also secures the shoe to the boot cover itself. You do not have to use a staple gun, but it does help secure that overall fabric to the boot cover, and it will give you a much better look and traction. But just place the shoe inside the boot cover again, make sure that's all stretched out and in place of where you want it to be, and we'll just start to take the staple gun and staple around those edges. Again, please watch out for where you are stapling and use supervision if you need it, because it will be vital in the overall result of your boots. So just staple in and around those thickest parts of the rubber in the shoe, and this will help, guys, this stick to the overall boot cover itself. We will not want to be stapling inside the middle portion, because there is a slight bend in your shoe that we all know that cracks in these Converse, and you need that to maybe pull off some poses or do overall running shots. So do not staple within where your shoe bends. You know what I'm talking about, your toe portion of your foot. And I've run out of staples. Hey, I got some more staples. We came back, and let's just start to staple around the edges. I finished this up, guys, and some of the staples will not fully go into the rubber base itself. At this part, what you will want to do is just finish up what you'll need, and any loose things that are sticking out, you'll want to stick your hand inside, make sure there is nothing coming through inside the open space of the shoe, because that will be pretty sore when sticking your foot in. But what I do is get a tiny hammer and just start to tap around all the staples to securely fasten them in. You can see here that some of them didn't fully go into the rubber itself. What you'll do is just take your hammer, give it some slight taps, put that bad boy in there, and you will have a nice flat surface on the base of your shoe. Okay, so I'll hold this up to the camera right now and just show you after I secure all these ones in. You can see I have a nice flat surface all around. Okay guys, so after this I will actually be gluing all of this once I finish hammering all these little tacks in. Again, you do not have to use a staple gun. You can maybe use a normal stapler, something to secure it, but you can see that bend within your toe portion of the foot. I didn't put any staples in there because it would restrict movement within the shoe. But then at the top I just start to cut away the lycra fabric. You will do this because you will want some traction for you on the ground, okay, because the fabric is pretty slippery, and on some convention or floors it is pretty slatey when you're even wearing socks. So what you'll do is just cut out two portions where the rubber will expose on the shoe. Then again, as I say, if you do not want to use staples, you can take a glue gun, a hot glue gun, or anything that is a good adhesive, and start to glue the fabric around where you cut your open exposed space. Okay, this will also help it stick fabric to the shoe base and will give you nice traction to the ground when you are walking. Again, you will need to do the front and back portions. I would keep your middle portion intact so that the fabric has a nice pull against your foot, and that none of the fabric kind of rips and everything stays nice and tight. Okay guys, I just start to spread the glue around and around the edges, make sure everything is secure. Also tap in any loose staples that are sticking out. And this is actually stuff that you use in the carpets. So this is for your floors or carpets that goes underneath. This is so that the carpet does not move off of the floor and has some nice traction. So this is actually just to place in that little middle portion that I say keep intact. If you want to place it, you can place it also in the open exposed places that you have already cut, or just use anything that gives you some nice traction to the ground itself, because you do not want to slip, guys, in these suits. It will hurt. So I just glue this into the middle portion of my foot itself. And thanks guys for watching. Here's the rest of the video. So hi everyone, as we are just finished, I thought I'd show you an exclusive look at the boot itself. So we'll step up on the magic chair and you can see we have our boot. So it actually has the shoe on the bottom right there, if the light is going to let me see it. So it actually has a rough portion, as I say. The rubber piece is coming out so that you have some grip to the ground itself. Also some carpet grip right here that is used on mats or carpets that you put on your floor so that it doesn't move basically. Then I also have cut open the bottom portion so that I have maximum grip and durability to the ground itself. Also it moves perfectly. I will say again, this is just a glorified sock. So you've seen I took the shape of one of my socks, made it just slightly bigger. You can make yours come up your leg to whatever length that you want. Mine comes up to around my kneecap area and it just sits nice and snug all along my foot. So I may just sew in right here a bit tighter so that it actually just encompasses right into my shoe itself. But other than that, I have maximum mobility with this thing. I love how it looks and how it fits on. Just slips on and off like so. So again, you have your staples right here at the bottom that just hold the shoe in place itself. I'm going to glue down that little bump slightly. Then we have the glue itself that we cut out the portions of the bottom so that we have grip to the ground. Now this can be used for a Nightwing, basically a Spider-Man, Godspeed, Flash, Kid Flash, Green Arrow, Batman, any suit that you want. So if you get some any colored lycra fabric, get an old shoe, cut the exact same shapes that I used, glue or sew those together, preferably sew them together because it will be better, and then take the steps necessary and you have your boot. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. This has been me making the boot covers on the shoes. Yeah, for me, everyone here at Ireland, I love you all. Please subscribe and comment and check us out on Instagram for more. And yeah, let me know how it goes. Bye guys.